What do children want more than anything in the world? Well, it's coming up to Christmas, so the list at the moment probably feels like it's quite long, especially if your children are like mine and are just commenting on every single advert that comes on the TV during the morning TV session. But I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about what children actually really want, and a conversation that comes up frequently, like nearly every conversation I have with clients comes around to this in some way, shape or form. And what children really, really want most of all is to feel safe, to feel safe in that they are loved, to feel safe in their home, that they are protected, and to feel safe in regards to boundaries. So this is this is one that I can talk about forever, because I've got so many different, there are so many different ways this conversation can go. So one of my very first jobs, or my very first job within the realm of social work, was working in a children's home back in 2001. And it was a home for boys aged between 5 and 12, I think, 11, 12. And it was a very, very, very eye-opening experience for me. It was challenging in so many ways, and it was absolutely incredible in so many ways. It's probably one of my favourite jobs, actually, that I've ever had. And I learned something really important that I've carried with me throughout my personal life and throughout my professional life. And even when I do my couples work now, I still refer, or I do work with an individual when we're talking about parenting, we're talking about relationships, whatever. I still bring the same lesson up, because the same lesson applies throughout. And that is about boundaries. It's about rules. And I always used to, so I was young when I was in this job. I was like 21. 21, 22. Can't do the maths. And I used to be really, I used to think, gosh, there are so many rules in this place. Like, why so many rules? These poor kids have had such hideous starts to their life. Why can't we just cut them a little bit of slack? And the reason why you can't cut them a little bit of slack is very simple. It's because you cut them a little bit of slack and they go wild with it. Now, there are two parts to this. There are two parts to having really, really firm boundaries. I'm not necessarily saying strict. I'm not saying like it needs to be ridiculous, because I don't actually, with my own children, I'm actually pretty laid back, to be honest with you. But the need for boundaries are twofold. First of all, it's important that we all have rules that we adhere to. Now, we all know, don't we? We can bring this right up to date with COVID. This isn't a political thing, by the way. We can bring it right up to date with government's response to lockdown measures, and how confusing that message is, and how when you don't have incredibly clear, firm boundaries, people either don't know what they're doing or they just take the piss. Either, like literally. And so when you don't have clear, firm boundaries, you either don't know what to do, you don't have a consistent path to follow, or you just end up taking the piss and bending the rules. And if we're talking about relationships, we're talking about love relationships, we're talking about parental relationships with our children, it makes no odds. Like that's pretty much how it goes. The second part of it, which was the bit that took me by surprise, that, as I say, I learnt pretty soon when I was in this children's home, is actually that children feel safe with boundaries. As adults, we can look at boundaries as being constraining, boring, breaking the fun, whatever, over the top, police state, like whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. But actually, what boundaries do is they create safety. They create a parameter, which means that not only do I have to follow the rules, but you have to follow the rules. And so if I know those rules are in place, I know that I am protected from you. Now, okay, fine, fair enough. Like, these kids had really shocking backgrounds. Abuse of absolutely every kind. And so the strict boundaries were there so that they wouldn't physically hurt each other and they wouldn't sexually hurt each other, just to be blunt. And so the rules were there, the very strict rules were there, so that not only could one couldn't hurt another, but actually one knew that they were safe from the other. And that's the part that I remember the most. Children want to break the rules. Like, I've got 2 girls, 5 and 7. Of course they want to bend the rules. I'm an adult. I definitely want to bend the rules. But it's important that we also know, whatever our age and whatever our perspective on the world, it's important to know that we are also kept safe, that no one can hurt us, and that we have a place that is that creates a safe space around us, whether that is physically or emotionally or metaphorically. And when we all know that, and we can all within reason take that for granted, we can have a peaceful heart. Our children can know that they are safe emotionally and physically when there are clear boundaries in place. They'll be the first one to tell you when somebody has done something wrong. My daughter got punched in the stomach at school the other day and was, obviously very upset about it and was hurt, like physically in pain. But actually, she also knew that it was a completely unacceptable thing to have done. And so she told the teacher, rightly, and the boy got, I don't know what happened to the boy, but I know that he got spoken to about it. It's unacceptable. So, I suppose all I'm trying to say is that we all need boundaries. We all need to know that we feel safe, and we all need to know that we are all sticking to the same rules for our own well-being, to protect the people that we love, but also to protect ourselves. I'd love to get your comments on this. So if you've made it to the end, please do drop your comments below. And as always, if you've got anything that you want to ask me about, you want to find out any of my ways of working, please do drop me a comment or a private message, and I'd be really happy to answer your questions as soon as possible. All right, take care.